Two best bets for week 4 Thursday night football between the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. I'm going to tell you who's going to cover the spread as well as give you my favorite player prop. Now, smash that like button if you were on the Commanders plus 7.5 from our last video from Monday Night Football. And if you've been with us on this 6-2 run over our last 4 videos, netting us 4.75 units. Now, if you're stumbling onto this page for the first time, welcome. My name is Peter Appel, and this channel is the home for all of my NFL picks moving forward. So if you're interested in NFL picks all season long, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what you think of my plays and what you like for Thursday Night Football. I'll be sure to respond to them all, just like I always do. Now, a reminder that this channel is sponsored by BetMGM. It is the perfect time to use promo code JustGridiron for a first bet offer up to $1,500. Deposit at least $10, and if you lose your first wager on MGM after using code JustGridiron, you'll get it back up to $1,500 in bonus bets. But remember, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older. Terms and conditions apply. Let's talk about the spread before we get into the player prop. The look-ahead line for this game was Cowboys -7, but it reopened at Cowboys -4.5, went down to 4 for a little bit, and then it's just been creeping back up to where it is now settled 5.5, 6 range. That's where it is right now, mostly 6 in the market. Our job is to figure out whether the reopening at 4.5 was where the line is supposed to be, or if the look ahead line at -7 is actually more indicative of what the matchup will look like. What have we seen so far? Well, the Cowboys beat the Browns with an offseason to prepare, got destroyed by the Saints, and then lost to the Ravens in a game where they battled back at the end to make the score look a lot closer than it did. The Giants got manhandled by the Vikings in week 1, lost a very close one to the Commanders. They didn't even have a place kicker, and then they beat the Browns last week. So if you actually take out the Browns, both teams are 0-4. Now, we took the Eagles to win the division, not because we were super high on the Eagles, but we were low on the Cowboys going into the year, and they really haven't written any of those wrongs. This team is the worst in the NFL over the last 3 weeks at stopping the run. And I'm not exaggerating here. They rank 32 out of 32 teams in rush EPA. They also have no run game to speak of, as both Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott have been incredibly inefficient. The longest run for the Cowboys this year is 12 yards by CeeDee Lamb. The Ravens outrushed them 274 to 51. Derrick Henry, I was told, was washed early on, averaging just 4.2 yards per carry. Against the Cowboys, he averaged 6 yards per carry. Alvin Kamara had a career game as well. I mean, he's put up incredible performances, but an unbelievable performance from Alvin Kamara. Next week, averaged 3.3 yards against the Eagles. The Cowboys' saving grace on defense has been their pressure rate, which ranks number 1 in the league. But here's the thing. That doesn't matter if you cannot stop the run. We bet against the Bengals for the same reason, who now rank 31st in rush EPA. Cowboys are worse. If you cannot stop the run, your defense will suffer. New DC Mike Zimmer has not filled in the old shoes of Dan Quinn, and now the defense overall ranks 28th in EPA out of 32 teams. The offense was supposed to save this team, but it hasn't been any good, as they now rank 20th in EPA on offense. I have downgraded the Cowboys a decent margin. Definitely not fully giving up, right? They could still rebound at the end of the year if they improve this rush defense, but they have to be adjusted down at this moment. Now, the Giants are kind of more or less who we thought they were, right? I don't think anybody was super high on the Giants. A lot of people thought they would be terrible. They've been below mediocre. Daniel Jones can make plays with his legs, and if he has receivers open, he could be good enough to get them the football. The offensive line has held up decently well. That's kind of the only area which I'm a little bit surprised has been as good as they've been. Still not great, but good enough, as Andrew Thomas is really emerging as one of the better left tackles in the league. Singletary, though, has been pretty good as Saquon Barkley has now left the Giants. He's averaging 4.7 yards per carry, and while Malik Neighbors is the most exciting player on offense and a clear difference maker, they are sticking to running the football, giving it to Singletary 16 times in the past 2 games. The Giants can not only run the ball with Devin Singletary, but Daniel Jones is going up against a defense that ranks 29th against opposing quarterbacks on the ground. They just give up a lot of chunk plays to quarterbacks running the football. Overall, through 3 weeks, the Giants have the 22nd ranked offense and the 15th ranked defense. defense. They've done an okay job at stopping the run, ranking 19th. The secondary is without two key guys, but that's been the best part of their defense so far, ranking 15th in dropback EPA. They do get back Nick McLeod to the secondary, who has been out for 2 games. So they lose 2, but they add 1 back. The Giants tend to blitz a lot, but they should be able to rush 4 in this matchup, highlighted by Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Dexter Lawrence, allowing the rest of the defense to try and stop CeeDee Lamb. They don't really have to worry about the Cowboys' non-existent run game. They just have to stop Dak and CD. The Cowboys are just so unbelievably one-dimensional right now, which is just not a team that I can put my money on, especially as a road favorite laying this many points. There are systems on both sides. It's generally a good idea to fade a team that was an underdog in their last game and won outright. But also, it's historically a good idea to take home division dogs, especially in prime time. The Cowboys also historically own the Giants. Good for them. These are new teams with new players and different coaches. I didn't care when we took the Dolphins against the Bills and we lost. I didn't care when we took the Jets against the Patriots. We won. Past history, unless there's something tangible I can latch onto where this coach versus this coach, they've been there for the last 10 years or something like that, can't really jump on that and really believe that the Cowboys truly own the Giants. We simply cannot lay points on the road with a defense that ranks dead last in rush EPA. If we asked Bill Belichick, I think he'd say the same thing. He used to ask his DCs, first question, how are you going to stop the run? And once they gave him an answer, what's your plan B if plan A doesn't work? Stopping the run is the center of good defenses, and the Cowboys simply don't have that this year. I think the adjustment to 4.5 was correct. So the steam backup, in my opinion, has provided a point of value on the Giants at home. Give me the G-Men +6 to win 1 unit. But now let's talk about our player prop. As we stated earlier, the Cowboys cannot stop the run. But it's not just the running backs dicing them up. We talked about the quarterbacks, remember? Now, Jones has had success against the Cowboys. He ran for 43 yards in week 1 against the Cowboys last year when the Cowboys had a better defense and had the entire offseason to prepare for him. Now, Jones ran the ball 8 times in the Giants' week 3 win against the Browns, but he only managed 20 yards. Kind of a disappointment. But we took the Giants +7. And maybe if you're listening and you took it with us, you watched that entire game. And Daniel Jones had a 20-yard carry that was wiped away by a holding call that was barely wrapped up from behind by a defensive tackle on what could have been, again, another 15 to 20-yard run. The week before that, he finished with 32 yards against the Commanders. Now, Giants OC should notice that the Ravens ran for a whopping 274 yards against the Cowboys last week, but it wasn't all Derrick Henry. 87 of those yards was from Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson is an amazing runner, so comparing Daniel Jones to Lamar Jackson isn't really fair, but can we compare him to Deshaun Watson, who ran for 39 yards on only 5 carries in week 1 against the Cowboys? Now, the Cowboys allowed the 12th most rushing yards to quarterbacks last year when they had a better defense. And now this season, even with Derek Carr sprinkled in there. So you're saying, well, the rushing yards might be inflated because Lamar Jackson. But then they also got to face Derek Carr, and it's not like Deshaun Watson is much of a runner either. And now they rank 3rd in rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks this season. The best part of the Cowboys defense is defending the ball through the air and getting a lot of pressure. They rank 14th in EPA against the pass and have been 2nd in success rate, allowing only a 34% success rate on dropbacks. This means that the Giants are going to have more difficulty moving the ball through the air, or at least hypothetically, we expect them to. So I expect multiple design runs for Daniel Jones and even more runs while he is evading pressure. Even if Singletary is finding his success, that should even open up the read option. Now, the Cowboys, like I said, generated a ton of pressure, which should force Daniel Jones out of the pocket and run on the outside of the design reads. Now, Jones only played 6 games last year and averaged 34.5 rushing yards. As he continues to look healthy, I expect the Giants to let him run more and more, and this is a perfect matchup to get him started. I'm taking Daniel Jones over 31.5 rushing yards to win 1 unit. So the plays are Giants +6 to win 1 unit and Daniel Jones over 31.5 rushing yards. If you appreciated this breakdown, I would appreciate if you hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, as again, this will be my home for all of my NFL picks. We are 6-2 in our last 8 picks, worth 4.75 units. Let's stay hot here and go 2-0 on Thursday Night Football. Why not us?